Here are some creepy things you may not want to know about mood rings. I don't know about you guys, but I used to love mood rings as a kid. They were invented in 1975 by Joshua Reynolds. He came up with the idea after seeing a physician friend apply thermotropic tape to a kid's forehead to measure temperature. So as your body temperature changes, the color on the mood ring will change. The creepier side is that people have used mood rings for spirit communication. The different colors indicate different answers. Other people have been said to cast a spell over their mood rings, so the spirits can use the energy to communicate with colors. There are even websites where you can buy mood rings with spells already cast on them. I have never heard of this, and I don't know how accurate this is, but I do know it's something people claim to do. Another eerie thing people experienced was their mood rings dying. The mood ring had a limited lifespan, and for people who weren't prepared for that, it kind of freaked them out. Imagine wearing a ring every single day, seeing it change into beautiful colors, and then one day you wake up and it's black and it won't change. I'd probably think I was dead or something.
Is this the biggest abandoned church in Texas? I don't know, you tell me. This is the old First Baptist Church in San Marcos, and it's got some crazy history. Here are some old historical photos of the church from the 1800s when it was built, and what's crazy, this was an African-American church, and the Ku Klux Klan actually came marching down the main street of San Marcos in 1873 and actually burned the entire church to the ground. After this fire, the community came together in a show of solidarity and rebuilt the church on the same land where the original church once stood, and here it sits now in 2021, completely abandoned and in a terrible state of disrepair. It's definitely an eerie-looking building. I don't know if there would be any paranormal activity. This is the only shot I could get of the inside of the church, but it's heavily marked with no trespassing signs, and I couldn't even find a single way to get in. If you have time, I want all of you guys to help me email the Historical Commission in San Marcos and tell them that this church is worth saving, because if it goes away and gets destroyed, so does the history.
The fact that actual hobbits did exist, but not quite the ones you've gotten used to. In 2003, archaeologists found the remains of a 3-foot-tall adult female in a cave on an Indonesian island. At first, there was speculation that the skeleton was a person with microencephalia. A comparison of the skull with modern microcephalics, though, seemed to suggest it came from a typical individual. There were also other indication that these were the bones of an unknown species.
These are scary apps that you should never download. Up first is the Death Alert app. This app contains a database of a lot of people, and when one of them dies, you get an alert where your phone will literally scream at you. You would then be shown the dead person's name, age, and cause of death. What's super creepy is when a person dies, your phone's background automatically changes to a childhood picture of them. Next is the Girls Around Me app. This app allows you to view the location of women on a map and see all their public info and photographs. This app is super disturbing, and it's technically spying on girls. Finally is the app Creepy. This app allows you to locate anybody you want in the world. So if you have anybody on your bad side and you don't want them to find you, do not tell them about this app.
He's evil, he's dangerous. He's based on a real-life serial killer. Leatherface got his name by literally cutting his victim's face off and putting it on himself. Ed Gein, the real-life serial killer, was a huge inspiration for this movie. Ed had chairs and masks made from human skin, just like Leatherface. Leatherface would chase his victims with a chainsaw, which, let me tell you, is kind of fun. Now, I personally didn't do it. I downloaded Bunch and played this game called Day by Daylight, where you can play as Leatherface, Jason, Michael Myers, and even a Demogorgon. Download Bunch, which is right there on the link. You get to play with your friends and see their scared reactions.
Videos that seem innocent but have a terrifying backstory. Part 9.
In 2015, married couple David and Louise Turpin traveled to Las Vegas to renew their wedding vows with an Elvis impersonator. The couple appears to be cheerful, having a very happy family with many children. But 3 years after this video was taken, one of the daughters managed to escape the home and go to the authorities. As it turns out, all 13 children had been locked up in the house, abused, and malnourished. In one of his final live streams, popular Twitch streamer Byron Bernstein, better known by his Twitch name Wreckful, joked about suicide and even mentioned testing out to see if he could survive a fall from his balcony. A month after the stream aired, Byron took his own life by jumping from that very same balcony. In 2014, adventure YouTuber Snakebit McGee uploaded a video entitled MK Pike.
I'm looking for a cave that I found. Something about that cave just spooked me. This one just made my body vibrate.
He has since gone missing and to this day has never been found.
Craziest Human Experiments, Part 3. Project 4.1. Back in 1952, the natives of Marshall Islands were accidentally exposed to radiation. This was due to the US government testing thermonuclear weapons. Instead of letting them know, they sat back, studied, and watched. The first 10 years showed little to no effect on the community. But after that, things got ugly. Thyroid cancer in children skyrocketed. And by 1974, almost a third of the islanders developed tumors. People of the island believe this was no accident. A report from the Department of Energy states that they were being used as guinea pigs for a radiation experiment.
What happened to Jeffrey Dahmer when he went to prison? Let's talk about it. Serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer finally admitted to slaying and eating around 17 young men, which eventually led to his arrest in July of 1991. So in 92, Dahmer arrived at the Columbia Correctional Institution in Portage, Wisconsin, but was held away from other inmates because they were afraid that inmates may try to attack Dahmer and make a name for themselves because they already knew about his famous case. But during his first year in prison, he didn't cause any problems, so upon request of Dahmer, he was actually moved out of the isolation unit into a unit with people or inmates with emotional problems. But once Dahmer was moved, although the guards didn't notice, he would indulge in many morbid jokes, and he even put up a sign one day that said a meeting for Cannibals Anonymous. But one day Dahmer arranged his food to make it look like a severed limb and used ketchup to make it look like blood, and his inmate didn't like that very much. So when Dahmer was cleaning the bathroom, his inmate beat him severely to death, and he was found in a pool of blood by the toilet in the institution.
The craziest torture methods ever. Part 17. Music torture. Used as torture and interrogation by many governments throughout the world. You are restrained with headphones blasting music in your ears, for sometimes hours, days, even weeks at a time. Most notably used at Guantanamo Bay during the War on Terror. This man, Binyam Mohammed, suffered music torture. He actually said physical torture was better than this. Some of the most popular music that they used included the Barney theme song and the Meow Mix theme. I want chicken, I want liver, fuck that.
Creepy Ask Reddits, Part 6. Redditors with significant others who talk in their sleep. What is the creepiest thing they've said? I talk in my sleep regularly, but one instance comes to mind. My significant other said she was going to the bathroom in the middle of the night. On her way back, I said, "It's following you," and went back to sleep. My wife doesn't talk in her sleep, but I did once wake up to her standing over me and staring at me Paranormal Activity style. It was terrifying, and she has no recollection of it. She said, "Too many Asians here." I'm Asian. I crawled into bed when she was asleep. She reached over and grabbed my arm. She snuggled my arm a bit, and I thought it was sweet. Until, with a thick Russian accent, she says, "I break you," and acted like she was snapping my arm. Soft, creepy laughter, then immediately propping up at a 90-degree angle saying, "It's all part of the show," then going back to sleep.
That our doctors used to treat our mentally ill was so barbaric. A society really is only as noble as how they treat their most vulnerable, and boy did we fail. Mercury, which we now know can cause a series of painful afflictions, insanity, and death, used to be a treatment for many ailments. Some of the original patients no doubt ended up in asylums to be tortured with other nonsensical treatments after the effects took hold. Parents even used a mercury-heavy powder on their baby's gums while teething, which was the source of an intolerably painful condition which caused extreme itching and nerve pain on their sensitive hands and tootsies. Another harebrained idea was insulin coma shock therapy, where doctors administered large doses of insulin to cause comas on a daily basis. Another psychiatric technique from the 1930s. Needless to say, this treatment caused countless deaths. This one was less about mental illness, but insane nonetheless. It was once believed that hemorrhoids were a result of a lack of prayer. If you were unlucky enough to get one, you'd be sent to the monks, where they would stick a red-hot iron up your bum.
How Grimace went from this to this. Making his first appearance as part of the McDonald's cast, he was known as Evil Grimace, a four-armed shake-stealing monstrosity, keeping children looking over their shoulders while in the restaurant, in fear of him stealing their drinks or eating their souls. He then decided to change him to Ronald McDonald's happy-go-lucky pinhead friend. Cause you know, evil shake-stealing monsters and kids just don't mix.
What was that?
These are some morbid facts that you didn't know about the Lincoln assassination. Lincoln's bodyguard was an alcoholic who had previously gotten in trouble for drinking on the job. He wasn't at his post to protect Lincoln that night because he was next door drinking at the Star Saloon, the same saloon where John Wilkes Booth was drinking to build up the courage to assassinate the president. The chair that Lincoln was shot in still has his bloodstains on it. John Wilkes Booth also planned on assassinating Ulysses S. Grant along with Lincoln, but he didn't attend the play because his wife was on bad terms with Lincoln's wife at the time. Instead, the other man in Lincoln's balcony was military officer Henry Rathbone. After the assassination, he was overwhelmed with guilt for the rest of his life for not preventing it. He slowly went mad and eventually stabbed his wife to death before he was committed to a mental asylum for the rest of his life.
So look, you got a Snapchat going on, right? Y'all located in Florida though. Let me tell y'all something y'all don't know about the world and what's going on. So look, you scroll, right? You keep going until you find Iran. And you just zoom in. Like go down until you see Dubai. So you keep going in when you see Dubai. Like just keep going in. You see? And you'll see like this type of island. I don't know what it is. But like y'all, if you know, man, I don't even know what to say right now. Like, I'm speechless right now, bro. Like, this shit's so crazy. Just look. What do y'all see? Explain this. Texas, Indiana, New York. Like, can somebody explain this to me? What the government hide?
This picture is an example of a psychological phenomenon known as the uncanny valley. Most people, when they look at this image, are freaked out, and here's why. Our brains accept things that look human, but when there are slight differences, we become extremely uneasy, and this is known as the uncanny valley. A popular example of this is the movie The Polar Express, and this one definitely freaked me out as a kid. And it's because the characters look human, but not quite. Here's some more examples, but fair warning, they're definitely nightmare fuel.
If you've ever wanted to go to Hawaii, then you're like me and millions of other people that have wanted to visit. But these two urban legends might change your mind. This is Saddle Road, and supposedly it's the most dangerous road in Hawaii. When you're driving it, apparently people at a young age are taught that they're supposed to pick up any old lady they see on the side of the road and give them a ride to wherever they ask. The reason they're supposed to do this is because supposedly the person they could be picking up is a goddess of volcanoes named Pila, and here in the fire picture right here, supposedly people say that when volcanoes erupt, people can see her face in there. Here's another image of supposedly her face, and if you don't pick her up, that's supposedly bad luck on you, so you're always supposed to pick up the old ladies. Apparently you're also never supposed to take lava rocks because they always come with a curse when you bring them back to your home. And a bunch of park rangers always report that when people take these, they end up sending them back to Hawaii to get rid of them and the curse.
Morbid Facts, Part 141. Female mummies in ancient Egypt were always more decomposed than their male counterparts. Researchers would later discover that this was because male bodies were embalmed a lot sooner than female bodies. Unlike male bodies, female bodies were kept at the family home until they started to decompose. The only reason this was done was to prevent the embalmers from getting weird with the bodies. Children who are victims of hot car deaths are often found with large portions of their hair ripped out. The only reason dogs love squeaky toys is because they sound like little animals dying. Every unborn baby grows a mustache in the womb, which then spreads to cover the entire body. The baby then eats this fine hair called lanugo, then excretes it after birth with their first bowel movement.
Weird things people used to do for fun back in the day. In the 1930s, people used to go to premature baby exhibits, meaning the hospital would put babies that were born too early on display for public to pay and see. It sounds a little messed up, but this actually helped save babies' lives. Because it was the 50s, they didn't have a lot of resources to help these premature babies. But the money they raised from these exhibits helped them buy a bunch of modern equipment.